Hey guys. So my topic is trans women and feminism. Are trans women friends or foes to feminism? I went into this project with absolutely no knowledge of the trans community. Um, and I really went into it actually with no goal besides learning. And I didn't even have a thesis. So I learned that on my journey here of learning or researching and ended up coming up with the problem with trans women isn't the infringement on women's spaces, but the attempt to erase what women are. So it's kind of the cancel culture that we have grown to know, and that's what I will be discussing mostly in this project here. So some current controversies that we see with trans women. Um, this woman, Elizabeth Hungerford, she's a feminist. She's a lawyer, and she is also a lesbian, which I think is important for her character. To know who she is. Um, and she advocates that sex is sex, not gender. She believes that trans women infringe on women's only spaces and that they infringe on lesbians only spaces. Now, up until the equal rights movement, and even after, and even now, women haven't had very many safe spaces. And these spaces that they created were extremely important. And that's what Elizabeth is trying to get across here. Now, she went to Smith's College, which is an all girls college, an all women's college. And is she wrote an open letter to the college because they started to allow trans women into their programs, and she believed that that was an infringement on women's rights. She believed that um, this was a place that was safe for women, that in a time when there were one say this as an example, there were 100 spaces that people could be, 99% of them or 99 of them were available to men, and one of them were available to women. So, why, as she views it, are these men claiming to be women trying to get into the one space that was not theirs to begin with? And this is what she believes. In her final will and testament, Sophia Smith, who created Smith's College, wanted an institution for the higher education of young women for her own sex, for education equal to women that was not given to them in co ed colleges and universities. Um, and clearly, Smith was established as a kind of affirmative action. So that's what the college was. It was like, hey, women can have higher education too, and it was very empowering. And Elizabeth really believed that, and had a hard time, is having a hard time with the fact that Smith College is allowing trans women into the space. Despite all the social and legal progress women have made over the past century, mixed sex spaces simply do not offer women the same educational quality and opportunities they offer men. So her point here was that even in a co ed classroom, and even though women could attend college, any college, they weren't getting the same treatment. They were still definitely seen as inferior. So a space like this was a safe space for women to learn. And again, just she believes the infringement on women's only spaces by trans women was unacceptable. She believes sex matters because of biology. So I actually went to her Facebook page, and she posted a link to an article talking about the COVID reactions, the vaccine reactions in men versus women. And her point being that the reactions were worse in women than men. And if there was no biological difference between men and women, which there is a subgroup of people who claim that there is no difference, then why were women reacting worse? So she posts a lot of things proving her point that biology matters, and I mean that's just a fact. And I've noticed with this cancel culture that facts seem to offend people, and then they want to just erase it, and that's the canceling culture that really frustrates me with a lot of things, and I'll show you in further examples here. She also discusses the biological build difference between men and women. How men are primarily larger, stronger, just bigger, bigger hands, longer arms, longer legs, wider shoulders. narrow hips. Women have to bear children, so they have wider hips. These are just biological facts. Again, not to offend anybody, but it seems to offend people. It doesn't mean women are inferior to men. It just means we're built different. Um, and she strongly believes that one cannot join an oppressed group and claim to be more oppressed than that group. And this is not true to all trans women. This is just, one of those subgroups that seems to be the loudest. Of course, that's how it works, right? So she's saying that a man cannot decide to be a woman and then tell that woman she doesn't understand oppression. Because I'm sorry, but just being born a woman is an experience, which I will discuss too, that no man can truly understand. And that goes for I saw a meme going around that was saying, have you ever had to take a longer route than you planned, or double back, or not gone out at a certain time of night, or made sure that what you were wearing was not too showy of your skin? And it's so true. Those are things I haven't even thought about, but I'm a 5'2" young, or well, I guess I'm kind of young, young woman. I'm very small, very petite, and I am definitely an easy target, especially when I have children. And these are just things that happen, and things as a woman, that I could be a victim of rape, or I could be a victim of an attack, and it's because of my size and because of my sex. So this article by Jesse, and it's kind of anonymous. So he or she, I'm sorry, she's a trans woman, and it only has a first name. On this website, Gender Apostates, if that's how you pronounce that. She wrote an article as a trans woman to trans women. And I thought this was extremely powerful because her words were not of a biological born woman to trans women. She went through this in her entire life, and she's talking to trans women. So some of it I'll read verbatim because her words are so well put. I couldn't say it better. You want to act like a woman? Start being a decent human. Respect people's boundaries. Respect their need for space and their experience of oppression, which you will never truly understand. Yes, trans people are oppressed, and yes, the prejudice you've experienced overlaps in some ways with the way our culture treats women, but it is not the same, and please get it out of your head that it's worse. Being female is a biological fact. Being a woman is a social category. Some feminists may feel that a person born male can truly become a woman in a social sense if they genuinely engage with, address, and dismantle the male privilege they grew up with. Other feminists will tell you that they can never be a woman, and while that's upsetting and distressing, they're saying it for a reason. Because being a woman is a lifelong experience from the day you were born with female biology, not something you can cross over into. It's not something you become when you put on lipstick, and it's definitely not something you can become by just waking up one day and changing your mind. It's the experience of belonging to an oppressed class of people. But if you genuinely like and respect and identify with womanhood, then the way to get closer to that is not to insist that women follow your whims and listen to your voice and accept your definitions and your rules and let you into the few spaces, safe spaces they have. You know what that makes you look and sound like? That makes you come across as the worst kind of man. So I thought this was extremely powerful because it's that male privilege that a biological man is born with. It's just something he is born with. And if a man wants to go through the process of becoming a woman, like, that's completely fine. But what she's saying is you cannot continue to act like a man in the name of a woman, and that is where some problems lie in the transgender movement, especially trans women. So what she was saying is that you cannot bend biology out of recognition, like blurring the lines of gender. You can't say that there is no difference, because there very much is. And trying to erase that, canceling it is offensive, and it's erasing what women are and what women can do. So one of the biggest things I saw in the UK, actually, was they wanted to stop saying breastfeeding because it's now chest feeding. And I'm sorry, but I breastfed two babies for 2 years, 1 year each. And it was the hardest damn thing I've ever had to do. And it was amazing because I kept these little humans alive with something my body did. And and it was an amazing feat. And I'm proud. I'm proud of what my body did. I'm proud to be a woman. And having words canceled because a trans woman is offended that they don't have breasts, that they can't breastfeed. I'm sorry. That is unacceptable. And it's completely negating the progress that that I have made, or the feats that I have made, and the amazingness of the woman's body. I just That's one thing that gets me very heated. So another controversy, which we've been seeing in Florida, is the ban of transgender women in sports. So I made just a short little video here um, to kind of sum it up.
It's not a woman. This is a trans woman. This is a male. She has a Y chromosome. She transitioned to being a female. Now she's a trans woman. And if you choose to fight her and you're a woman and you know that she's a trans woman, I'm totally fine with that. But that was not what was going on here. What was going on here was this woman who used to be a man for 32 years transitioned to being a woman, and it didn't tell anybody. And fought two different women who thought they were fighting a woman and got fucking smashed.
So it's a little vulgar, he is, but he was making a fine point here that, especially in MMA fighting, which is super, hands-on, of course, it's a very rough hands-on sport. Um, the fact that she hid that she was transgender, I think is unacceptable in this sport specifically. Um, because he is right. He's right. She was a man for 32 years, and and just biologically, she still is strong like a man, built like a man. And in a sport, especially a high contact sport like this, it was unacceptable. But mostly, I think the issue here is that women, or trans women in sports, it kind of negates that progress women have made with sports. Now in class we watched the 99 women's soccer world cup, and how amazing that was, and how big of a feat that was. And when we're now going to allow trans women into women's sports, what are we saying? Are we saying that the progress women have made means nothing because now everything is essentially, it's co-ed? And there's a reason that men and women are separated in sports. I'm sure at the beginning it was sexist, but biologically men and women are built different, so it levels the playing field when men play against men and women play against women. And I think there's just this line here that, if crossed, could really damage women. And that's something that I think needs to be mentioned. So, when we talk about second and third wave feminism here, I want to bring up a quote by Gloria Steinem. She said, "The first problem for all of us, men and women, is not to learn, but to unlearn." So, this is something that Jesse said perfectly, is that if a man wants to identify as a woman, he wants to transition, that is completely fine. But he needs, or she, after the transition, needs to unlearn the male privilege that she was born with. And that is very important, to being a friend to feminism. And then bell hook's definition, of course, is feminism is a movement to end sexism. Now I went through an article here, and there was an addition of S to feminism, and this is part of the third wave feminism here, because there are so many different fights to feminism. It's not just one fight, it's a fight of many. So in this case, they're inclusive of trans women, that they are also have a feminism that they're fighting for, to end the sexism and transphobia, and it's all part of. of feminism, which I liked the addition of that S. But also, this third wave of feminism might be extremely powerful because this new generation is growing up without binaries. So we're seeing same-sex parents, we're seeing transgender parents, we're and biracial parents. So this isn't, the family structure isn't the classic mom, white mom, dad, middle class America, boy, girl, kids with a dog and a picket fence. Families are definitely different now. There are different dynamics, and because of that, we're raising a generation that's far more inclusive, and that's why I believe that this third wave of feminism will really be powerful because all people, men and women, and transgender men and women, and whatever somebody identifies as, they are going to fight to be seen as equal because everybody just wants to be equal. So some takeaways, some new views here to kind of wrap up my points are: trans women are not the problem. The erasure of sex and gender are. So that cancel culture we talk about, canceling words is a problem because I believe it really does erase women and their fight to equality, or our fight to equality, and all the progress we've made so far. And essentially, canceling words is saying that what we are and say and do don't matter, and that is just not true. Not this goes against with the canceling word thing. Not being able to discuss anything because it's an offense is a problem. So having an opinion that differs is not wrong because that's why it's an opinion. And stating a fact is also not offensive because it's a fact. You can't change facts. Um, and that's what that subgroup, that loud subgroup is trying to do. So my main takeaway from all of this is that trans women are women. Feminism is the fight for equality and the end of sexism. So, friends to feminism are those who fight for this: men, women, trans men, trans women. Trans women are not an infringement on women, and they are not an issue to women. But that subgroup of trans women who believe that their voices are more important, that their problems are more important, that's the man in them speaking. Thank you, guys.